Is Tuttle on?
Tuttle is not on that stinker. Welcome to FantasyInsiders.com, the daily fantasy NFL show sponsored by FantasyElite, the app that you can get in the App Store. We have no Mr. Tuttle, and we have no face of Evan Silva, but we do have this adorable guy right here. Look at him, all adorable. Davis, Maddock. Davis, did you see Zach Mettenberger cut his hair?
He cut like his long hair, or
Oh,
did he cut
yeah.
the mustache?
No, he left the mustache, but he cut the long hair. It's no longer feathery. It's no longer Maddock-esque.
Well, that's not. I mean, I guess he's interested in being a worse person now. I don't know. That seems weird. He should definitely have kept the long hair going with the mustache. Like, I think it was a good look for him.
Yeah, I don't, like, honestly, I don't know. I guess he wanted to be, like, a professional, maybe? Maybe that was
Well,
why.
I mean, yeah, I guess starting quarterback of like the worst team in football, you got to be pretty professional to do that.
Okay, well, let's start there. Evan, your take on this whole Zach Mettenberger situation?
Well, he's a vertical armed passer, and Justin Hunter is a vertical receiver. And things don't always work out like we project them to, and our logic doesn't always hold. But the insertion of Zach Mettenberger, emphasis on insertion, should help
Yo,
Justin Hunter's outlook. I mean, no question about it. And this team is still going to want to try to run the ball, and we'll see if they're able to. But, you know, Zach Mettenberger in college was a guy who was willing to pull the trigger on difficult throws. And we want to see him give Justin Hunter opportunities to make plays with the ball in the air. And based on what he did in college, I think that Zach Mettenberger is more willing to do that than the quarterbacks the Titans have trotted out to this point.
yeah, I mean, I actually think Mettenberger is pretty good, but like that's sort of based off my evaluation that Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham are only like okay NFL wide receivers. People that bought into Odell Beckham as a star and Jarvis Landry is like a quality wide receiver too, probably don't think Mettenberger is very good because it makes his college production not look that great.
So, my question is, Evan, are you buying immediately Justin Hunter? Everyone's getting all excited again. And so I'm thinking they're
Yeah,
just setting themselves up for more disappointment.
right. I mean, he's in daily, he's not a cash game play. I don't think. And I mean, I haven't even looked at his price, but I mean, he's still just a tournament guy. I would think. Um,
Yeah, he's
one
not a
th-
cash game guy.
Yeah, and one thing that I did notice though is that the Titans or the Texans have been giving up a lot of production to opposing number one wide receivers. Antonio Brown had like 990 against him the other night and should have had a TD. T.Y. Hilton went 9 223 1. Dez Bryant went 985 1. Sammy Watkins scored a TD against him. Victor Cruz had 5 107 1. James Jones had 9 112 1. So, those kind of line up nicely for Justin Hunter, assuming that you believe he's the Titans' number one wide receiver. Um, but I mean, there are arrows pointing at Justin Hunter this week, and he, as usual, he gives you a lot of upside, and he will probably be boom or bust.
I was
Yeah.
surprised that people still played them in their cash lineups last week. I mean, really surprised.
Nobody did that. Nobody like the with the wind and with the Whitehurst, man. Nobody did that.
I'm pretty sure there's someone in our chat that did.
Like I know people pulled him out of their cash game lineups. Like I know people who did that. I don't know. All right, Evan, this is the most important topic of the week though. Jerick McKinnon. Why like just get on the train with me. Just make it publicly known that he's going to annihilate the Buccaneers this weekend.
I'm absolutely on that train. His cost is just so ideal. They're willing to use him in the passing game, which raises his floor. and then his upside should just be through the roof. I mean, the Bucks, they actually played decent run defense early in the year, but they've lost a lot of critical players since then. And over their last 2 games, they've given up 5.29 yards per carry and 3 rushing TDs to opposing running backs. Those were Saints and Ravens running backs. So, I mean, it's not like they're going against Jamal Charles or, Le'Veon Bell. I mean, they've allowed a lot of production to average to above average running backs, and Jerick McKinnon's skill level is top shelf. So I think he's a blow up candidate with a high floor, and that's probably what you want, every single week. It doesn't really matter what kind of a fantasy league you're dealing with.
All right, I have a question for you. In a PPR league, so say DraftKings scoring with full point PPR, you can either take the 13.3 points that Brandon Oliver gave you yesterday, and you know that you're getting those points and you can put them in your lineup right now, or take the unknown of Jerick McKinnon on Sunday. Which one do you do?
Oh, easily Jerick McKinnon every single time.
Yeah, okay, I agree. And yeah, I don't know why I just said in chat Vontae Davis. I meant Jimmy Smith. So that's a question. I feel like some people are going to play Mohamed Sanu this week, even though the Bengals just got eaten up last week. What do you think about Mohamed Sanu this week, Evan?
I noticed that they pulled him out of the slot a little bit and asked him to play outside. And that's not the kind of receiver that he is. He's not really a perimeter receiver, and he struggled. And now if they do that again, he's going to have to do that against Jimmy Smith and Ladarius Webb. So I would avoid Mohamed Sanu. I know that it makes sense, that he should be fairly heavily targeted, but I'm not a big Mohamed Sanu guy. How about you, Davis?
Oh, So, this is always what happens to me, is I'll be like, yeah, I'm not really on that guy, and then he'll go and have a big game, and then I'll, like look at his stuff and be like, oh, well, actually, he's not bad. Just from looking at his college production and his size, and then, I tend to go the other way of being like, oh, well, actually, Mohamed Sanu is pretty good. But no, he's not. He's like a second wide receiver in the NFL. He's okay. Speaking of second wide receivers, though, Seattle basically just has a collection of guys who profile at best as a number 2 wide receiver, but they have a really good matchup this week against all of the terrible Carolina, cornerbacks. I think they have one safety, maybe who's graded out as a positive by Pro Football Focus. But which one eats this week, Jermaine Kearse or Doug Baldwin?
I'm going with Kearse.
I'm going the other way, but you go first.
Okay. I mean, look, I think that they both might eat. The Panthers are particularly vulnerable at slot cornerback. I mean, they're vulnerable everywhere.
Well, how funny is it that the guy who played 100% of the snaps of them at right corner last week got cut midweek?
Well, no, that was Godfrey. They were using him at slot corner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then his backup is Beanie Benwikiri, a rookie, and he is ruled out this week with a high ankle sprain. So I honestly don't even know who they're going to use at slot corner this week.
Oh, you know what? I wrote up Godfrey in my article because Mike Clay's table on Pro Football Focus had Godfrey in there before he got cut, and then I put Ben McCary in there. The other guy that they have has played 8 snaps all season. Let me see if I can find him here on Pro Football Focus, but it's all bad.
Norman?
I believe that's it. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't. He's supposed to be an outside corner.
James Dockery.
Oh, okay. He will probably play in the slot.
Corner.
Yeah. Okay, and he's a guy who has bounced around rosters. And then look at the rest of their corners. I mean, Melvin White, they already benched him once this year. Antoine Cason has given up a touchdown in 5 straight games, and PFF had him allowing 131 yards last week.
Negative 13.1 PFF grade.
Right. So, I mean, I really think both these guys could eat. I think that on a weekly basis, if you're just looking for touchdowns, Kearse will, more often than not be your best bet. But I agree. I mean, Russell Wilson should go nuts in this game, and it's possible that both of them pay off. I just like Kearse a little bit. I think this will be a Kearse week, whereas last week was a Baldwin week.
Okay, Evan. Go ahead, Davis. David. Go ahead.
Well, no, I just think it's a Baldwin week just because he's seeing at like this point he had the biggest, he had the most targets last week, and out of all the non-Percy
Mhm.
Harvin targets on the team, he's seeing 25% of them for the Seahawks. So that's what led me to believe that it was Baldwin. Just like I think Curse could have a big day too, but just give me the guy that is targeted a little bit more often for daily.
Yeah, you know where we went wrong is that initially when we started this conversation is that Baldwin had been going against right corners mostly, but with
Yeah.
Harvin gone, they're going to use him in the slot more. So he's going to be targeted a lot there. Those are going to be high percentage routes for him. Um, so that's where I think that he will play mostly is in the slot in this game, whereas Curse will be outside. But again, I think they're both great plays.
Okay. David. We
Um,
talking about Zach Stacy?
no. And I'm not talking about Jerick McKinnon either, Davis.
Because he's such a good play that we don't even need to go over it anymore.
No, he is a good play, but we'll get to how just basically risk proof he is.
Yeah.
So we'll start with quarterbacks. You talk about Russ. You also have got Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. Are those your top three quarterbacks, Evan, for daily games? Are you looking to mix anybody else in like Carson Palmer? Give us your thoughts on the QB situation.
Yeah, I think that Rodgers is the number one play this week. And, I was big time on Davante Adams last week, and he didn't really pay off. He was only targeted once. I mean, what did Aaron Rodgers throw, like 25 times? I
I
don't,
think 23.
yeah, so I don't think that's going to happen again this week. The Saints are actually favored in this game by 1.5. So, I don't think this is going to be another week where Aaron Rodgers takes off the fourth quarter. I love Davante Adams. I think that Aaron Rodgers should have a huge day. Carson Palmer is always my guy, and he's at home. Philadelphia relies heavily on blitz. Michael Floyd matched up against Kerry Williams and Bradley Fletcher. That's a matchup we discuss frequently, but it's great.
They're both awful.
Right, particularly Kerry Williams.
Oh, you don't like Kerry Williams, Evan?
I mean, only people who like to pretend that bad players are good like Kerry Williams.
Who do you hate more, Chris Johnson or Kerry Williams?
Well, they both play on different sides of the ball, so you can hate them both equally.
That's poetry, Evan.
So if you gun to your head, you said Rodgers won. Gun to your head, where do you rank the others? Just give me your next three ranks.
Because I don't really do ranks, I will go. I'm just going to look at Pats and then kind of spin it from there.
Okay.
I would probably play either Rodgers or Carson Palmer in a tournament. Rodgers seems like the safest bet, and then Russell Wilson would be in play in both for me.
Yeah, I have Russell Wilson as my third guy. I'm not
Okay.
buying into playing Brees this week. Like my guys are Rodgers, Palmer, Foles, Wilson, and like a little bit of Cam Newton.
Oh, you just can't quit him.
Seattle is 22nd in adjusted pass DVOA by Football Outsiders. They haven't been good.
Well, neither has Cam, so they have something in common.
Cam's been okay.
You were talking about how terrible he was last Sunday.
Yeah, because I was tilting. Dude.
Okay.
Let me tilt.
Okay.
Understand that you're not getting any objective analysis from my Twitter feed on Sunday. It's all gonna be me tilt.
Oh, yep. Max in the chat.
He was really bad in that game though. Well, actually, I don't know. Evan, how bad was he? Because, to me, it felt like a lot of 50-50 stuff went against them. They, didn't get a couple fourth downs. They punted when they should have gone for it a couple times. And, just, a couple things happened. And the defense couldn't stop Green Bay. But, how bad do you think Cam actually was in that game?
Right, and also when they can't run the ball, they're not going to be able to sustain drives and stay on the field.
Right.
Um, so they become very reliant on their passing game, and it makes them one dimensional. And bad games can happen because of that. I do a podcast with Ross Tucker, and he suggested that the reason that the Panthers were so flat was because the week before they essentially played a whole 5 quarters because they played in that tie, that 37-7 tie against Cincinnati. So I'm kind of with you that Davis, that Cam Newton is kind of a sneaky play. I'm trying to decide between him in a redraft league, between him and Jay Cutler, and also between him
Well,
and Jay Cutler, who would you
if you
play?
want to use the looked like shit argument, Cutler was terrible last week. And Cutler will go
Right.
through stretches where he does this, where he just turns the ball over and he's getting beat up, and like it just happens with him. Like I trust Cam to have a safer floor week to week than Cutler.
Okay, well, yeah, and I would probably agree with that as well. But let's go back to what Evan said about them not being able to establish the run. I mean, they just don't have a running game right now, and I don't think I'm trusting him against.
Well, I'm not. You shouldn't use him in cash. I don't think, but I think he's a really good tournament option because a 35-point day is waiting out there for him every week.
Okay.
Yeah, I
fair
think
enough.
he's a low floor, high upside guy. Cam.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the running back situation. Davis, before we got on, you were talking about the Saint situation there.
Yeah.
Does that mean that Mark Ingram is going to be a thing? Because who was it? Was it JJ yesterday that said it, or Leone?
I would say I don't remember. I wasn't really listening. I was too busy being angry about Jerick McKinnon. But I think Cadet is the guy that you want because so they
Wait.
basically
Who is he? What's his
It's
name?
it's Cadet.
Is this a practice squad call up? I've never
No,
heard of this.
it's Travaris Cadet.
It's Cadet. You try to Frenchalize it, just like Joe Week. It's not going to happen.
Joeek is like the funniest thing I've ever heard.
I would
It's
never.
the same as Joik. It's the same.
I would never be able to call
It's
him.
not the same.
I would never be able to call him Joik. It's just like
It's
Cadet
Joeek.
is not Cadet.
Well, whatever.
We've been over this.
You want to play Travaris because
You're not going up in a Rocket ship. So.
okay, listen. He's gonna pick up some extra rush attempts. Like Ingram is, I don't think his conditioning is all the way back to the point to where you would think that he's ready to hold up to a full workload on the ground. And because Cadet is the one who gets the receptions, anyways, I feel like he actually has a super high floor this week. What do you think about that, Evan?
In a PPR, I would definitely think that that's correct.
PPR or half point PPR?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to get goal line carries, and
No, but he gets
and
goal line
we've
receptions
never
sometimes.
even seen them give. I mean, I would like to know what his career high in a single game carries is. I mean, even in like a preseason game, like you never see them give him carries.
He's had a preseason game where he did all the running work in the second half before.
All right, I'm looking it up.
So am I.
Drew Brees is going to go ham. That's just my take.
I don't know how true that is, man.
Well,
Do you know how rare it is? Do you know legitimately? Why the most career rush attempts Cadet has ever had in one game before is 2. Huh?
Yeah,
Not including preseason.
in preseason, the most he's ever gotten is 8.
Huh.
Or this year. I'm sorry, this year they gave him 13 in one last year.
Yeah, that's probably you got to figure that's his ceiling then, right?
I mean, there's no way that he's getting 13 carries in a regular season game.
Probably what, like five of each, 5 rushes, 5 receptions. That seems like a pretty reasonable projection to me.
That seems reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's going to be over-owned in cash games, in my opinion. But he's definitely a guy that I would use in some of the bigger tournaments. But I mean, then again,
Davis, I'm surprised that you're promoting him. Have you looked at his measurables?
oh, he's bad. Yeah, he's not very fast or
It's really,
strong
really
or
bad.
anything. But I mean, they use him in that Pierre Thomas role, and I'm pretty sure Pierre Thomas's measurables aren't great either. But then he would have had the combine before all this stuff became official, so his times and stuff would be off. But What do you think's up with Drew Brees? I think that it's a little bit of age-related decline and missing Jimmy Graham. He threw an incomplete pass 10 straight times last week. That's really weird for an elite quarterback.
Right, but that was also against the best defense in football. I mean, he's just been solid in fantasy. He hasn't had like explosion weeks. I mean, I think that on a per week basis, he's either number 5 or number 6 overall amongst quarterbacks. And they in their first 5 games, they didn't have a deep ball at all. And then in the 6th game, Jimmy Graham was basically a non-factor. So, I don't know. We got 7 games. Can we say that he's for sure, on the downslide? I mean,
No, I don't think we can say it definitively, but I think we can say he misses a healthy Drew Brees or a healthy Jimmy Graham.
I think we can say that he'll get at least 25 fantasy points on Sunday.
I think that their offense is just
That's
not.
a lot of fantasy points.
I think their offense is just not firing on full, at full tilt, and it hasn't been all season for a variety of reasons, and he's now going up against the top 5 pass D.
Yeah, I mean it is at home, so that adds a little bit of safety to him. But like, I don't know.
I think he's safe. It just doesn't seem like he gives you a ton of ceiling this week.
I just don't feel like on any site I would rather use him than Rodgers based off of the options available.
If you're talking about, okay, I'll give you that in cash games. But if you're talking about like leverage, when everybody's on Rodgers in that game, then Drew Brees is the choice. The thing about tournaments is that you really don't know who to pair him with. Because it's any given week, it's a different person.
Is Shields going to play this week, Evan?
No, he's doubtful.
Okay, so I mean, I guess it's probably Colston. Even though I don't think Colston is good anymore.
I wouldn't pair him with. I wouldn't even start him.
Yeah, I'm not really all that interested. I honestly, despite their awesome team total, I just don't know how you get exposure to this game. Like, are there any individual... Like, I like Cooks, obviously, just because he's on the field and should see some targets and is cheap. But he's not cheap on FanDuel. It's just on DraftKings. I don't know. What options do you like from New Orleans, Evan?
None.
Yeah. I understand for a tournament using Brees instead of Rodgers because you don't have to stack up your quarterbacks. Like, that's a fallacy. But... I in a cash game, and really even in my tournament lineups, I'm going to err on the side of Rodgers because I don't really care about own percentages. I just care about who's going to score the most points. Like, this weekend, I'm going to have just so much Jerick McKinnon, and it doesn't really matter to me that he's going to be high owned.
Do you guys care about own percentages in cash games at all?
I think you have to take it into consideration a little bit if you know that a guy is going to be 80% owned.
Yeah, you have to really consider that. Like, but I don't try and go contrarian. I'd be more likely to just be like a game theory play of being like, well, if I fade
Davis? Evan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Davis just went mute.
All right.
Everybody's dream has come true.
Well, anyways, I'm going to talk about Davante Adams.
Okay.
He played. I know that the target total was disappointing, but he played a season high 79% of the Packers snaps. So the arrow is still pointing up on him. This is a game where Rodgers is going to have to throw the football. And this is. I think it's a great opportunity for Davante Adams because we will see Keenan Lewis probably on Jordy Nelson. And then that will give Davante Adams chances against Brian Dixon, who's an undrafted rookie, or Corey White, who's terrible, or Patrick Robinson, who's terrible. So, I really haven't done too much looking at pricing. I know that Davante Adams was like $5,200 last week on FanDuel and probably didn't go up a whole lot past that. I like him in cash games if he's right around there. And then also as a GPP play, I'm telling you, he's going to go off one of these weeks, and this seems like a really good week for that to happen.
Yeah,
He's
Tuttle's
a
on
great
that same page. Talking to him earlier,
Okay.
just about him being an excellent GPP option, especially if you want to get some exposure to that game.
Yeah.
Because cheap wide receivers on FanDuel are just hard to come by that you feel good about.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel really good about Adams. He started last week. He played as many snaps as Cobb.
Yeah, he's locked in, dude. He's locked in.
Okay.
Yeah, and you wouldn't really think that with the way he's priced.
All right, so let's move on to another running back, Evan. We talked about extensively yesterday on the show with JJ and Leone, but Davis is all in on Jerick McKinnon this week. Do you see any sort of risk there with McKinnon? Or is he a safe, double-digit floor type running back?
Oh. But
Hello? Evan, we're losing you. It's like you don't want to tell us what you really think about McKinnon.
I think Jerick McKinnon is high or very high upside.
There you go. Highest floor player, straight from the horse's garbly mouth.
I don't think that's what he said. I think he's not. I think he said he's not the highest floor player.
Full floor player, that's Marco. But for his cost, I mean, his cost is ridiculous. It's so cheap, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Right. So you got to play him. And then, what do you guys think about McFadden this week?
Dude, he's an option. Leone's talked me into him as an option. For sure. Like, he's their starting running back. Like, he's like legitimately the guy for them, and Carr is not good, but he's also like not like Jason Campbell bad. And like teams have to run every once in a while, and McFadden is running efficiently. So I see no reason why he's not an option this week. Like,
Yeah.
not for cash games or anything crazy like that, but definitely for tournaments.
Evan, I think he was offended by the Jerick McKinnon comment. So, real Ricarden says MJD going to get more work.
Is he?
I don't know. It's just like that is definitely like a risky situation that you would definitely only play it with GPPs. But as far as here's the issue this week with like lineup construction in cash games is that if you're going Rodgers, you have to make some sort of sacrifice at some position. And you can go McKinnon, but that's still not going to cut it. Especially if you want to pair Jordy or Dez in that lineup. So
just go with McKinnon, go with Davante Adams.
Okay. So that's McKinnon and Davante Adams and then Jordan Reed then at the tight end spot?
On
Gronk.
FanDuel, yeah. Yeah,
Gronk.
Gronk though is the dude.
On DraftKings, I agree. On
Still on FanDuel. Like if you're doing a non Aaron Rodgers lineup, Gronk's got to be your guy.
Okay, so this is what I'm saying though. If you are doing, we're talking about doing an Aaron Rodgers lineup. Like it's gonna be hard to put him on there. You can't put Gronk on there unless you like seriously cut out some other guys.
Or you can do Gronk if you could go no Nelson.
Yeah. Do you feel good about going no Nelson?
You never feel good about fading Jordy Nelson.
Like,
He's been
who would you-
incredible. He's scored in every game this year except for the 2 games against good defenses.
Okay, fair enough. In that same
and by the way, Keenan Lewis is listed as questionable.
So he's like Terabad though, right?
Yeah, but I mean he's played a little bit better recently. I mean, he was really good last year, and he had a slow start, but he's still. I mean, you know, he's a big guy who can give bigger receivers problems. I'm just saying that he is probably going to play, but he may be at less than 100%. He's listed on the injury report with knee and shoulder. He's limited practice all week, questionable. So, I mean, at this point, he's a guy to target, not worry about.
Yeah, Jordy is gonna eat. Jordy is gonna my preferred setup on FanDuel is Rodgers, Nelson, Jordan Reed at tight end, minimum kicker, Cowboys or Vikings defense, and then building around that. That's sort of like my main. That's my core. Well, and then obviously McKinnon at one of the running back slots.
Yo, so let's talk about Gronk.
Let's do it.
Dave, why were you anti-Gronk and pro Colt McCoy's tight end?
What's that?
Unreal.
Dave, why were you
Silva,
anti-Gronk and pro Colt McCoy's tight end?
Silva, JJ started this because JJ just wants to live the stream and think that he's like a soothsayer, but you never just Gronkowski is 5,900 on DraftKings. You just can't mess with that, dude.
Yeah, I'm a Gronk lover. I'm a straight up
good.
Gronk lover.
Wait, so JJ, I mean his big tight end play the previous week was Josh Hill, wasn't it?
I don't think I didn't listen to Living the Stream last week.
I don't know. He's definitely all about.
Lost all our games.
He's definitely all about the obscure tight end.
Luke Wilson, dude. Luke Wilson's a great play. Remember that?
That run like dads.
I was on that too, though. But this is Gronk's week, man. I mean, he's got an extended layoff after that Thursday night game. The Bears, they actually kind of got crushed by Deion Sims and Charles Clay last week. Some people haven't even heard of Charles Clay and Deion Sims.
Dude, the Bears have not defended the tight end since 1985. I Lovie Smith, the Tampa 2, they just didn't care about tight ends, and now they can't do it either because their linebackers suck and they're slow.
All right, let's move on to this.
Gronk's gonna go nuts.
The guy that's the same price as Jordy, Dez Bryant. Evan, your thoughts on Dez this week?
Oh, I guess Jordy would probably be. It would be between Jordy and Dez for the number one play at wide receiver.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think that's what everybody has. I'm asking you to choose one.
Well,
come on, Evan. Don't.
I mean,
I think this choice is easy.
I would go Jordy.
Yeah.
I would go Jordy because his team throws more, or is going to throw more on Sunday, probably. I mean, what do you think, Davis? Do you disagree?
No, it's definitely Jordy because if the Cowboys play to the script that they want to against Washington and Colt freaking McCoy, they're going to be up, by a possession or two the entire game. They're going to have 8-minute drives. They're going to feed the ball to DeMarco Murray and to Joseph Randle, who is good just because the Dallas offensive line is so good. And, Dez will gain first downs because he's always open, and he'll probably score a goal line touchdown. But for him to be as good of a play as Jordy, you have to think he scores on the goal line twice, pretty much.
Yeah, okay. So Jordy's the number one play, but I think that Dez should be. I think he should be right up there. I mean, everything about this looks good. The Romo should have a cleaner pocket with no Arakpo. The Cowboys or the Redskins actually have played Dez pretty tough in the past, but that has been because they assigned D'Angelo Hall, who he only plays well in one game all year, and it just happened to be against Dez Bryant. But he's out of the mix now, so it's Emerson, who is athletic but gives up a lot of catches and yards and TDs, or it's Bashad Breeland, who runs 4.62.
That's bad.
Those are the two outside corners for Washington. Here's Breeland. He plays left cornerback. Emerson is the right cornerback. Breeland 5'11", 197, 4.62 40, 34.5-inch vertical. That's actually a worse vertical than Larry Donnell, who is
LOL. That's so funny.
260 pounds. And then Breeland is 95 out of 106 qualifiers in PFF's cornerback grades. So he doesn't have a prayer when Dez will be on him.
No, Dez might go I probably expect him to convert every single target he gets into a catch, and I definitely think he's a lock for a touchdown. It's just a matter of, does he get a second one, and does he get to the crazy Jordy Nelson, Demaryius Thomas type yardage? And he totally could. I mean, if Dallas's defense still isn't great, they just scheme well and they keep the other team's offense off the field. But Dez could totally have 12 catches for 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. I'm not saying that at all. Just if we're talking probabilities, I think Jordy has a much better probability for that huge game.
Makes sense.
All right. Sure. I'm looking right now the difference between the different quarterbacks as far as lineup construction goes. I just feel like
you're totally gonna end up playing Brees.
I know, man.
I know that you're gonna make this. I know that you're gonna make this choice, and I know that you're gonna be tilting and being like, "Should have just freaking played Rodgers, man." And I see how this is going, and it's the same way you saw me slowly talk myself into Cam Newton last week, and you didn't intervene, and I'm trying to intervene and help you.
Okay,
right now, David.
but you also know me, and so you know that I will do this right here.
What, are you hedging?
Yes. I don't go all in on one quarterback. I just do not do it. Not if I have heavy volume.
I've done worse things than going all in on Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. And that is fine. But when there are other quarterbacks in that tier, and even if you don't like Drew Brees, I think that Russell Wilson is in that tier. I'd
rather play Russ than Brees.
Right, and I know you would, and I don't necessarily blame you there. He's $1,100 cheaper, but you just have to know, if you go all in on one quarterback and you don't have a huge bankroll, heaven forbid something happens to Rodgers in the first half. You're just
heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid something happens to Rodgers in the first half. You're not going to be a happy camper. And just that's also the reason why I wouldn't go all in on Jerick McKinnon. Just leave yourself a little bit of room there.
But here's the thing, though. If McKinnon gets hurt, whether or not I use him on 60% of my teams or 100% of my teams, I'm done for the weekend anyways.
And I mean, not if one of those GPP teams does not have McKinnon in his game.
And also, the lower price the player is, the less you need to diversify off of them because it hurts less.
Okay, and I understand that. I understand how Jerick McKinnon is not a quarterback that you have to have points from. But I still don't think that he is on a site like DraftKings. I don't think you have to have him in your cash lineups.
Answer me a question before we move on to a new topic, David. Did you play Eli Manning in cash games against the Eagles?
All right, so we talked about running. I did. I did. I played Eli and his brother.
I didn't remember.
Yeah, no, I played only Mannings that week, and Peyton went off, right, and Eli did not, and so I wasn't as hurt as I could have been if I just went.
Oh, it's just the concept of playing Eli Manning, with all that is that in.
I do it every year. I do it every year at least once. I play Eli in a juicy matchup, and I get burned for it. So I learned my lesson. And I'm not going to play him anymore in cash games. That's it. I'm not going to play him anymore.
All right, I want to talk to Evan about one of my favorite players, Michael Floyd. He's really been disappointing for fantasy, despite the 2 touchdowns and good yards. He's just been sporadic. What do you think about him this week versus one of Fletcher or Williams, depending on which side he lines up on?
He should line up most of the time against Kerry Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love him, and actually,
I prefer him over Fitzgerald for sure.
Oh, for sure. Well, when Palmer, the targets haven't been great, but I think that they will rise. When Palmer has played, his stat lines are 5, 119, 447-1 and 347-1. So that just based on that, he's got a nice floor, and then he's got way more upside than any of that. So I just built a FanDuel lineup where I stacked Palmer and Floyd. Okay, and then I went at RB. I went Jerick McKinnon and Darren McFadden, and then at wide receiver I went Jordy Nelson and Dez Bryant, and then at tight end I went Gronk, and then I was able to get Chiefs D against Rams at home, and then Patrick Murray. So, I mean, you can do this where you can get all these monsters in. If you stack Palmer and Floyd.
That's such a good lineup. Like all the cash lineups that I put in on FanDuel thus far have had Rodgers, but like I don't know. I really did. Oh my god, I just got so boned by Cam last week that I am going to diversify even with Rodgers. And I think Palmer was the guy that I wrote up in my absolutes column, and I definitely think that he's the second guy that I'm using because I love pairing him with Floyd against Kerry Williams or Fletcher. Two wide receivers in the same game, Sammy Watkins and Eric Decker. Watkins is definitely in play this week. I mean, he's just seeing such an absurd number of targets in that offense, just including their costs. So looking at their value, do you like Decker or Watkins more this week? It's really close.
Evan is so bad about not getting off the fence.
What do you mean?
It's like Tuttle-esque.
Well, it's because I don't do rankings, so I'm just thinking about like how do I feel about these guys.
I mean, I do Fantasy Pros rankings, but like all I do is I just find the hottest take possible. Like I'll do stuff like rank Brian Quick top 12 wide receiver in a good matchup.
But Evan, it's like it's in your gut. Like you have an answer for it immediately.
I mean, but I haven't thought about this at all though, and I would want to put like some thought into it. I mean, I want to make.
We don't do that on this show.
I want to make a decision with some reasoning behind it, so that if it turns out wrong, I'm like, okay, but I made the best decision.
Well, you picked the wrong show to talk about reasoning. And
I mean, here's the thing: they both have good matchups in terms of the opposing quarterbacks that they're facing. I would probably
I like Watkins more. I think he'll get more targets. Yeah. I like
Watkins
that he's at home. I really like the way that Kyle Orton is playing recently. If I'm deciding between those two, definitely Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins, okay, Kyle Orton has started three games. Sammy Watkins has been a beast in two of them, and the only one where he wasn't, he faced Darrelle Revis.
Yeah. I mean, it's me eating crow to say it, but he's an excellent play this week. Like I think he'll just be continually roasting Antonio Allen.
Yeah, if you're picking Watkins over Decker, that just speaks to how good of a matchup you think Watkins has.
He definitely does.
There's just no one who can, and it's not even just the matchup. It's also the fact that quite literally, he's the only thing that they have. They got nothing else outside of him. Like he's just if they're going back to pass, there's like a 40% chance that it's going his way.
Oh man, there is a picture of me, and it's just like disappointment. I'm pretty sure is after Evan said that he would play McKinnon everywhere. Ryan Hodge just tweeted it out.
You have to play him everywhere.
All right. Speaking of running backs, let's get back to the number 2 running back that you guys like after McKinnon. Are you like this is the whole thing we're talking about as far as paying up, not paying up? I feel like you can easily go to a guy like Le'Veon Bell. If you
the one thing you got to worry about with him though is the Colts just dominant time of possession. There's only one team that has better time of possession than Cowboys, and that's the Colts.
Okay, so as far as that second running back, would you rather pay $100 up and get Marshawn Lynch, or would you go McCoy? Like where are you going with your running back this week?
I would go with McKinnon and McFadden.
Oh my god!
What, bro? Are you for real right now,
Evan? Don't do this to me.
Why?
Over you would rather You'd rather play him than Le'Veon, like even including Price?
No.
So if I understand this right, the way you're doing your lineups this week is you're just trying to cram your lineup full of wide receiver goodness.
It's a stars and scrubs sort of lineup for Evan.
I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah,
People forget
and
this.
Gronk,
Jerick
dude.
McFadden used to
I'm
be
paying
amazing.
for Gronk. I'm not messing around with Colt McCoy's tight end.
Yeah. That's such a good point. Like all these things line up for Reed to be a good play this week, like price and targets, and they're going to be trailing. And then you remember that Colt McCoy and his 5.7 adjusted yards per attempt are his quarterback.
Okay.
It just all falls apart there.
So if you go Rodgers, McKinnon, McFadden, Jordy, Gronk, and let's say you go like pretty close to minimum price for your kicker and defense on a site like FanDuel, you've got $12,900 left over, leaving you $6,450 per wide receiver. I think you could probably make that work, but like
Look, for the people that are saying that McFadden sucks, he does. You're right. But do you think that Denard Robinson is good? Because
no.
Denard Robinson looked like 2009 Chris Johnson.
LOL.
Running against his
I think
front.
Denard Robinson is good. Evan, how's that for a hot take? I think Denard can play. I think Denard is the perfect. You know who Denard Robinson is? He's Tavon freaking Austin.
He has not been effective in any other game besides against the Browns, who have a bottom 2 run defense according to Football Outsiders DVOA.
But Shoelaces, though.
I kind of like Shoelace as like a long-term prospect who's still developing, but I don't think right now that he is. He broke 1 tackle last week, Davis. He broke 1 tackle.
No,
the Jaguars, for the first time all year, their offensive line started to all of a sudden create some holes.
Evan, I just wanted to throw some shade at Tavon Austin was the only reason I was saying that.
Okay.
I wanted to say that Denard Robinson, as like, what was he, like a 4th-round pick? That's what Tavon should have been.
Well, back on track. I feel like if rostering Rodgers means that I have to have McFadden in my lineup, then I'm going to scale down to Russell. If I'm you, because
I just wouldn't use McFadden in my cash games. I know all the logic is there for it, but I just feel like that's unnecessary risk. I feel like he's a good tournament option though.
Right, and I'm not saying he's not. All right, so let's talk about some other running backs.
All right, let's add that, Rick. Tony Sperano says he thinks that Maurice Jones-Drew deserves more carries.
I mean, Maurice Jones-Drew sucks though.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, look, if you're an anti-McFadden guy, that's good. Be that, and here's a little bit more fuel for that. Tony says that Maurice Jones deserves more carries.
I mean, you're talking to a guy who once drafted McFadden 1st overall in a redraft league. Like, I loved that guy.
And I talked about yesterday, like, how much I did not like Mark Ingram, but I think for the same price tag in cash games on FanDuel, I'd rather have Ingram than McFadden.
Yeah, with Kiri out, because he's going to get like almost every rush attempt that they have.
Is he the same price? Okay. Oh, he is. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's sweet. Cool.
Okay, good.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
How funny is it that running back as a position in the NFL has like just degenerated so much that these are the options we're talking about?
Yeah, like, okay.
Running back is so awful.
Forsett, Andre Ellington, Ben Tate. Shane Vereen's sick now, so you can't really consider him. Lamar Miller and LaShawn McCoy at that $8K price tag. And then, like, that upper tier, you've got Le'Veon Marshawn, Jamal Charles, Forte, Murray. Murray and Forte are just too expensive this week.
Give me no. I don't want any Ben Tate. Not after what he did last week, man. I don't care if it is against.
All right, so Ellington, Miller, and Forsett, I feel like are in the conversation. Evan, you want to weigh in on those guys?
Not Ellington.
That
Not
foot,
Ellington.
man.
I mean, I don't even think it's the foot. I think it's just that he gives you no touchdown upside. Like if he scores a touchdown, it's just like a fluke.
That doesn't
it's
matter
like
to
80
Davis.
It's like an 80-yarder that bounced off someone's helmet and landed on like his like hand.
Right,
Yeah.
or like a wheel route thrown by Logan Thomas, where Logan Thomas goes 1 for 8 for 81 yards and a touchdown, and the only pass he completed was to Andre Ellington. Just like a total fluke for him to
Right.
score TDs.
You probably missed yesterday's show, but touchdowns for running backs does not matter to Davis. That was pointed out by.
When did I say that?
That was pointed out by JJ and Leone.
No, I said that I shared a different evaluation on Jerick McKinnon's red zone chances. They were saying you can't reasonably project him for a touchdown. And I said you could.
Well, all right. Those upper tier guys, though, you said no to Ellington, or those mid tier guys, right? You said no to Ellington. All right, so Forsett, are you okay with him? We talked yesterday about him not catching any passes. Like, what's going on there with Forsett, Evan?
I think that has been an issue of game flow, the lack of receptions, because they're kind of kicking ass.
Okay.
But he gets vultured by Pierce, and it's not just garbage time vultures. I mean, I think Pierce had his TD in the first quarter last week. I think.
Right.
So that's
early.
another. Yeah. So that's another scenario where, I don't want guys in my lineup who. It's a fluke when they score a TD.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm on board with that. I don't know. I really like Lamar Miller this week because even though he's not getting like 20 touches, they are using him around the red zone. So that Miller is who I'm on this week.
Definitely.
For sure.
All of his
Jacksonville
TDs have
the
been
worst.
deep inside the red zone. Lamar Miller.
Yeah, Jacksonville is woat.
Oh, what about Mike Wallace?
Just talk to someone else about that. I can't reasonably evaluate that guy.
Why?
Because like he's just the worst, dude. I don't like Mike Wallace, man. I don't know if I in a decade of playing fantasy if I've ever rostered that guy in any format.
Oh,
like I just don't like him.
Oh, I have.
But yeah,
I don't think he's not a guy you can put in cash games, but he's definitely like he's always a guy that has a high upside for GPPs. Always, just because
he's been like the most consistent receiver in fantasy football to this point.
yeah. Like I'm sure he's been great. I'm sure the people that have used him love him. He's just not for me, man. I don't know why. I've never liked him.
Yeah, well, he's in that same
target share is in his favor. What's against him? He's got a 40-inch vertical.
Dude, I got nothing against him.
10'9" broad jump.
I got nothing against him. I just don't like him. So that's why I'm telling you to do the analysis, because that dude is literally a guy that I just scroll past every week.
All right.
This is like a blind spot for me, but I just don't like that guy.
Okay, so Wallace is in the same tier as Alshon, Brandon Marshall, Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
You like Wallace better than all those guys?
Not really.
Okay.
But I think that he's someone who should be in the conversation.
Yeah, and against Jacksonville, I get it.
Against Jacksonville, their top corner, Alan Ball, is ruled out. The target share is really strong for Mike Wallace. He has at least 70 yards and/or a touchdown in all 6 of the Dolphins' games. And I think a blow-up week is coming for him where he goes nuts. I don't know if this will be the week, but I think he should be in the conversation.
Okay, so here's my question. I've got a FanDuel lineup that I just created. Rodgers, McKinnon, Ingram, Jordy Nelson, Curse, Macklin, Gronk, and then I went gold and then the Jets. So here's my question. If I went from Macklin to Wallace, I could then go from Curse to Davante Adams. Which one would you rather have? Curse Macklin or Adams Wallace?
Give me the
Adams Wallace.
side. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not unreasonable. Like that's fine. I don't know. Like that's weird. Like I just like sort of just realized that like I literally have never played Mike Wallace and never owned him.
Well, this was the year to get him because his ADP was like 7th, 8th round.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was cheap.
He was a stud a couple years ago. An absolute stud.
Yeah, I think that Tannehill is kind of a GPP option.
I could see that.
I'm starting him in some of my seasonal leagues, like because I never draft a quarterback, so
Yeah,
I picked him up off the
I picked him
wire.
up off the waivers in the one league that I'm in, to play him this week. So I could definitely see him as a GPP option, especially on 2QB sites.
Yeah, as Kyle just said, that's right. He always has a little bit upside with the rushing and all of that, so I'm cool with all that.
Oh, Kyle just said he's a 2QB cash game option. I didn't even see that. Kyle, you and me, we're like connected right now.
Do you guys play on draft day?
Uh-huh.
I've just played FanDuel and DraftKings all year.
Their prices were they really tightened up their salaries. Pretty strict last week, and Scott told me they're not going to be as strict this week. But yeah, it's definitely fun. Okay, so to wrap things up, we've talked about pretty much everything. Team defenses that you like, Evan, this week? Miami?
Davis, did you say that you're starting Minnesota?
Yeah, I like Minnesota. I think the Dallas defense is for 4,700 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I agree on Dallas D.
Not Minnesota though.
What about the Jets versus Buffalo at minimum salary?
Yeah, that's fine too.
I mean,
I would consider them.
There's just not that many options there in Buffalo. I mean, you got.
But on DraftKings, Miami, 3,300.
Yeah, they're a lot.
Lock that up. Make that move. I know that's more than we normally pay for defenses, but you got to do it this week.
No, that's a lock. 5,400 is the price tag for them on FanDuel, so it makes it
that's way too much.
It's that's between the Jets and the Dolphins. That's the difference between Brees and Rodgers.
Yeah, $100 just means so much more on FanDuel than it does on DraftKings.
It's almost like inflation if you think about it. It's like DFS inflation, right, Davis?
I don't know what that means.
All right, closing thoughts, Evan.
What about Bucks D against Bridgewater?
Yeah, people are gonna go so stupid with Bridgewater this week. He's thrown 1 touchdown to 5 interceptions. I think you might think he's going to be a good quarterback in the future, but the offense that they're running and the way they're running it is not people. Don't be dumb. Don't be dumb with Bridgewater. That's my final thought.
This is supposed to be a vertical offense under Norv Turner, and they don't have a single vertical receiver. I mean, they're missing the biggest element from the offense.
Well, apparently CPAT can't run
and their
straight down
tight
the
end
field.
is also a huge factor in the Norv Turner offense. And right now their tight end is Chase Ford.
Ralph Ellison's son. Or Rhett Ellison.
Ralph, his
Ellison.
brother, is good.
I'm an English major, man. It runs in my blood.
He is an author, isn't he?
He is. He wrote The Invisible Man.
Right. So they don't have the personnel to run a Norv Turner offense because they don't have a vertical receiver and they don't have a tight end. So what are they going to do? Stick it in McKinnon's
Turn the
belly.
ball over and let McKinnon do his thing. McKinnon is going to be so good this week.
Davis,
it's just so awesome.
I agree.
I don't know how you guys can be talking about Bucks D, Bridgewater, yada, 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 and then feel so good in the same breath about...
Because Tampa's not good enough to run up the score. Even if Teddy throws 3 interceptions, no way they are ever leading by more than 10 points.
All right, but let's say they just crowd the box, put 8 in there.
McKinnon doesn't care.
Let's say they bring the blitz. Let's say they bring the blitz and McKinnon can't pick it up.
Look, I don't care, man. McKinnon has the best athletic. He is the most athletic player in football. I don't care what they do. Give him 20.
You know what? That's one thing. The Bucks under Lovie Smith, they don't blitz. That's not a blitzing D.
Boom.
McKinnon's gonna go nuts, man.
He is gonna.
It's on, Dave. Dave, do not construct a lineup this week that does not have McKinnon in it.
Evan,
Every
I love
single
you so
one.
much right now. You're so beautiful to me right now.
I may not on FanDuel, but there's no way in heck that I'm playing 100% shares of McKinnon on DraftKings. There's just no way.
I'll play 80% shares, and I'm only.
Oh, you're down from 100 to 80.
I'm only doing the 20% for you as a favor to you, and I might not even play on Sunday. I might just throw a couple GPP teams in and enjoy my day.
Don't say a favor to me. Don't do that.
No,
because then if he goes off, you're like, should have played the other 20%, but David said.
Yeah, Well, that's what you signed up for when you met me and emailed me and we started being business partners, David.
I did not know what I was.
You signed up to be annoyed and bothered by me for the rest of forever.
It's true. I saw you had a rough edge. I know that you can't take the streets out of Davis. You can take him out of the streets. Can't take the streets out of Davis Maddock. That is for sure. So from the streets, Davis Maddock, also Evan Silva from Chicago. Do you consider yourself from the street, Evan?
Oh, Evan's definitely from the street.
Absolutely.
OG Maddock and OG Silva. All right. So on behalf of these two guys, thank you for tuning in. Tonight we got the College Football Show, 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 Central. Always a fun time. And then Sunday we have a question and answer show, 12 p.m. Eastern. Guys, it's been real. It's been fun. Good luck to you this weekend. And again, a huge, huge month coming up starting Sunday. Or actually starting tomorrow. College football, pro football, and then we get NBA and everything else starting next week. So it's going to be fun.
I'm done sleeping.
Yeah. No more sleep. Say goodbye, sleep. So
I have a 35-page thesis paper due at the end of October. Or the end of November.
Bless your heart.
It's going to be so bad.
We'll get you a virtual assistant or something.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That'll do it. We'll see you tonight, 10 p.m. Central, 11 Eastern. Later.
Later,
Thanks,
everybody.
dudes.